Good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Muskan Gupta, and today I'm going to present the movie Rabbit Proof Fence, which is an Australian drama film released in 2002. So, this is the theatrical and DVD poster of the movie. The credits for the movie Evelyn Sampi as Molly Craig, Tiana Sansbury as Daisy Craig, Laura Monaghan as Gracie Fields, David Gulpilil as Moodoo the Tracker, Jason Clark as Constable Riggs, Kenneth Branagh as A.O. Neville, Ningali Lawford as Maude, Molly's mother. There are some more characters in the movie, and then the director of the movie is Philip Noyce, who is also the producer, along with Christine Olsen. Writing credits for the screenplay are by Christine Olsen. Then music is by Peter Gabriel, and the IMDb rating is 7.4. So let's talk about the storyline. So before I go on with the storyline, I would like to give a little context from the movie only. This movie is based in the region of Western Australia in 1931. At that time, there was a special law that was there, and that was the Aboriginals Act. And according to the Aboriginals Act, Mr. Neville, who was the chief protector of Aboriginals, he had the power to control their lives. Like he could have taken away the children anytime according to his requirements. So the storyline revolves around the three girls, like three Aboriginal girls who are Molly, her sister Daisy, and their cousin Gracie, who are 14, 8, and 10 years old respectively. So one day, on the order of Mr. Neville, the three girls are forcefully picked up from their town, that is Jigalong, which is nearby the rabbit proof fence. Now, the rabbit proof fence was a fence that was mainly built in Australia to protect the farmlands from the wild rabbits. So, that was the rabbit proof fence. Now, when they were picked up from their place, all the three girls, they were taken to Murray River native settlement in the southwest. And as soon as they reach there, they are like their training for the adaptation of the English culture is started, and there they are not allowed to speak in the native language. They were getting some food also that was really different from what they usually ate. Then there are different scenarios in the movie which Molly was observing very keenly, and after observing all the situations like the punishments, the culture, the forceful treatment, like where they had to speak everything according to them, and after all those scenarios in this scene, as you can see in this picture, Molly was thinking about all those scenarios, and then she said, "These people, they make me sick." So that day she finally decided that it's now too much, and the next day when everybody is in the church, they plan to escape. So they like all the three sisters, they start escaping, and then starts their journey of going back to their home following the long rabbit proof fence. And then the story is all about their journey, how they go, where they go, who helps them on their way, and how is their journey. So Mr. Neville, who is the chief protector, as soon as he gets to know about them, he follows all the protocols, and he takes help from police, Moodoo, and follows the fence as well, but all in vain, because Molly's intelligence was way higher than what Neville could think of. So finally, Neville lays a false trap for Gracie by telling that her mother is in some place, and being a knave kid, she falls in the trap and then gets recaptured. So Molly and Daisy could not help her, and they follow back on their journey. And finally, after a long journey of 1500 miles, they reach back home, and finally they hide in the desert. So before moving forward, I would like to read out this dialogue by Moodoo. He, after like trying a lot to find these girls, he says, "This girl is clever. She wants to go home." Like Molly was really intelligent in all the ways that she has like steps she had taken to go back home. So all these things happened with all these aboriginals till 1970, and till now their identity is all stolen, and that is why they're also referred to as the stolen generations. So next, the human rights issues that I found in the movie were genocide, servitude, racism, white supremacy, and torture. So talking about genocide, there was no particular, I would say there was no particular killing in the movie, like direct killing in the movie, but yes, there was elimination of a, I can say elimination of a culture. There was a proper planned method how they were trying to eliminate the culture. If we go on by a scene where Neville says that he wants that these people are taken from their families and then trained according to the English culture, and then according to that culture, they have to serve as laborers, or they have to serve as domestic servants, and finally they may get married to some white men, through which generation and generation afterwards they are going to finally convert to some English people only, or we can say the white people only. So this was one human rights issue. Second was servitude. So as I just said, that their main ideology was that these people or these children are mainly trained to like become some servants or laborers on the farmlands, or domestic servants. So this was one of the issues which was not directly shown in the movie, but yes, their ideology was to do thing like that. So next thing is racism. So I would say that the whole movie is based on racism only, because they wanted this special caste to eliminate from the society. So they did not treat them equally, and they like treated them as inferiors. And we can also see one scene where Mr. Neville is checking in the camp that okay, which person is fairer and which one is not so fair, so that they could be taken to the next step of their training. So using their color, their culture, they were practicing the racism. So next thing is white supremacy. And in the movie it can be clearly seen that all they wanted to do was to convert these kids to the white people, so that they eliminate their culture fully, and that is what they were doing. And in one scene, if we recollect it, in that scene Neville clearly says that these are the third race, like they are not either white, they are not even black, they are the third race. So they have to be either they can go back to being black, or they can advance to the white color. So talking about these terms only, going back to black and coming like advancing towards the white culture, so it shows how they were making the white people as the supreme or dominant people in that place. Next, the last thing is about torture, and we can see a picture also here where um, like in the movie there are like some scenes of torture where one of them being when Mudu tracks down a child who had ran away. So he tracks her down, and when she comes back to the camp, she's getting like scolded, and then she got brutally beaten by one of the heads or the teachers there. So, and she was kept in a small compartment also for some days. So that showed torture in the movie. And yeah, next, this is the relevant articles that are being violated. So Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Article 7, 12, Article 18, 20, and 27. So now the conclusion of the movie. So according to me, like everybody has right to live equally and freely. Like if we talk about in the movie, even if they were trying to train them to do some things and to become something in future, that was not what everybody wants to do. Like they were treating them as forceful laborers, like they were not doing that work with their own will, they were doing it forcibly. So everybody has a right to live equally and freely. Next thing is no one can be, oh, sorry. No one can be at peace until they have their freedom. So
Two minutes more.
in one of the cases, Neville says that these people will understand what we are doing for them, and they will understand only at the later stages. But I think that it's until the person is at peace with the situation, they are not free. So that was one point of conclusion. Next is, it is your choices in life that would lead you to places, may it be good or bad. So on the way, Molly and their sisters are facing different situations, and in many situations, Molly's intelligence could be clearly seen that she was deciding for herself. Like, many people are giving so many advices, but she is deciding on her own and tracking her own path. Next is, listen to many but decide for yourself. That is the same thing regarding the same point where Molly shows her intelligence, and she was listening to everybody who was giving advices, but then she was following only what she was feeling was right. Next is, white supremacy may reduce, but it still exists. So, in the movie and in the real society today, also, we have white supremacy in many parts of the world. So, in the movie, also, just like we discussed in human rights issues, so white supremacy is still there. Everybody prefers, and there is a little bit preference given to the white people. If you say, it is in the mindset, everybody has that mindset, and it's generally from individual perspective only that can change. So next thing is, comfort zones may lead to discomfort as well. So in the movie, at one place, Gracie was really comfortable in the
It's time,
camp.
Muskan, to conclude
Okay, so
first.
just a second. So Gracie's comfort at the end led to her own destruction only. So at the end, I would like to just conclude by saying that if we consider home as anything you desire, so it will always be your willpower and your strength that will take you back home. So this is the trivia of the movie, some points in the trivia, and this is the bibliography, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Muskan. This was the best presentation of this afternoon.
Okay, so good morning, sir. My name is Ayush Sharma, and today I'm here to present my PPT on human rights. My movie is Blood Diamond, which was released in 2006. This is the theatrical poster of the movie. Here is the credits. Cast Leonardo DiCaprio himself as Danny Archer, Himon Honso as Solomon Bondi, Jennifer Connelly as Maddie Bowen, and many more. IMDb rating of the movie is 8. So this movie is basically based on the Sierra Leone Civil War. Sierra Leone is a small country in West Africa where local people, not many people, but most of them were on board with government because they were not satisfied with the policies that government imposed on them, and people formed a group known as RUF rebellions to fight against the government, and a group of people supporting the government. This war lasted for around 10 years, and as many as 50,000 people were killed in this war. RAF started this war, and even in the starting of the war, they captured Sierra Leone because it was a heaven for diamonds. Because underground Sierra Leone, there were many precious diamonds hidden over there. They used to mine the diamonds and illegally smuggle them to warlords and diamond companies in return to get weapons to fight against the government. So here is the brief overview of the story. Uh, a fisherman, Solomon Wendy, with his small family, lived in Shanghai, which is a small town in Sierra Leone. RUF rebels one day attacked on Shanghai and captured everyone and took them to the mining camp. Solomon's family escaped somehow, including his son Dia, but Solomon was captured and taken to the mining camp. At the camp, Solomon finds a precious pink diamond, but he somehow hides it and meets Danny Archer, who's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who was a soldier and a smuggler for the RUF rebellions. Military infiltrates the camp. The military was on the behalf of the government and arrests all of them. Danny, along with Solomon, breaks out of the jail because he was quite greedy about the precious pink diamond. He came to know about it, and he dealt with Solomon that in exchange he would reunite him with his family. Danny contacts Maddie, a reporter, to help Solomon find his family somehow. Meanwhile, RUF again attacks a village looking for small children, this time to convert them into merciless killer by drugging them, by overdosing them with drugs and brainwashing them. Among those children was Dia, the son of Solomon. So Solomon was quite depressed, and he tells the location of hidden diamond. Maddie takes Solomon and Danny disguised as reporters to that location. Danny, Maddie, and Solomon reach the camp, and somehow, with the help of Danny's army, because as he was a soldier, they kill and remove all of the RUF rebels from the camp. But unfortunately, Danny was killed in the process. Solomon finally reunites with his family. Initially, Dia didn't recognize his dad because he was drug overdosed, and the torture and brainwashing done by the RUF in order to convert him to merciless killer. Aftermath of the story tells us that Solomon actually sells the diamond at a very high price, and Maddie covers the report of diamond smuggling in her magazine. They all were happy about everything, but Danny didn't get his part. Maddie, along with Solomon as witness, attends a press conference and exposes the business of diamonds smuggling finally. And I would like to pressure on this point as in the at the end of the presentation, I would like to focus on this point. So here are some of the human rights issues. Number one, torture, slavery, and terrorism. RUF actually captured people as slaves and tortured them to work in the mines. They had a philosophy which consisted of 3 points. Number one, first kill some people to create terror, that is mass murder some people to create terror, and then capture the healthy ones to make them work in the mines. And number three, cut the arms of the weaker ones so that as a punishment, so that they can't vote for the government from next time. Also, we saw they used to abduct children and convert them into killers by drugging them and brainwashing them and then making them kill the innocent. So that would come under terrorism. Number four, genocide, politicide, and mass murder. In the movie, there's a combination of all three of them. RUF used to first murder people in order to create terror. They mostly focused on killing or terminating the group of people who were in the favor of the government, that is for political purposes. And even in the end, military group kills the RUF group, so that's also a group killing another group. Forced labor and child labor. People were forcefully abducted to work in the mines without their wish. Even children weren't left out of it. Expulsion and detention. It's the direct violation of Article 13 of UDHR. RUF used to abduct people from their home cities to work in mines, and people weren't allowed the freedom to reside according to their own will at their own place, and they weren't allowed to return to their home according to their will. Domestic servitude. It's kind of a slavery, but quite hidden, and maximum of us won't even see it coming. RUF abducted women and made them work as maids, nannies at their camps. But from the outside, it looked as if they were really the maids working of their own free will to earn money. So here are the relevant articles. Article 1 is based upon the master-slave relation and one group forcing the other group. Article 2 includes all the political discrimination going on, which is creating literally havoc in the world. Article number 3, it is clearly being violated. Leave alone the security of people. People don't even have command on themselves. They are controlled by others. Article 4 is subjected to slavery. Article 5 is subjected to torture. Article 9 and Article 13.1, 13.2, they all are subjected to expulsion and detention. Article 23.1, it's clearly being violated. People are forcefully enslaved and they don't have free choice of employment. Article 24, this is the biggest joke of all. Even in well-developed countries, it's a major problem because people don't get paid appropriately for what they work and how hard they work. Leave alone the holidays, rest, leisure, and packages. So here is the conclusion. Everyone is either a master or a slave in some way or the other. It's a harsh reality, and this history of master-slave relation is quite long. It will come to an end when the difference between master and slave ends, when the master ceases to be master because no more slaves remain, and the slave ceases to be a slave because no more masters remain. That would be truly a free world, which we dream of. Torture, a never-ending cycle which creates torturers and murderers. You start torturing for big things, then you start torture for small things. And this cycle just never stops. It's just ruining the lives of many innocent people who are being subjected to inhuman activities and degradation. Political indifferences lead to mass murder, genocide, terrorism, and many other inhuman activities, as small as it may seem. Politics. Yes, politics in many countries is creating havoc. As in the movie, also, we saw everything bad revolved around RUF rebellion group, which was actually originally formed to fight against the government. Terrorism is not only international, but it's everywhere, even in the smallest of forms. As we saw, RUF was not any less than terrorists. Child labor ruins the life of children and is the biggest enemy of our future. We even think of a bright future, a bright generation ahead. But I don't know how can we even dream of such a thing when the root cause of this still persists, that is child labor. Domestic servitude is a hidden evil. You often see nannies or maids working, but do you know if they're doing it willingly or unwillingly? Even in the movie, women were abducted forcefully to work as maids in houses. It's a hidden evil, which is quite difficult to detect in my point of view. So this one's a quite interesting slide and one of my favorites. Actually, this is a very special movie to me. It was actually my first ever English movie, which I watched back in 2011 or 2012. At that time, I was a child and very naive. So after watching the movie, I was like, "Whoa, what a great story, plot twists, action, and yeah, the sad death of Leonardo at the end." So it was quite a roller coaster for me at that time. But I didn't even understand the human rights perspective of the movie at that point of my life as I was a child. So when the list was out, I saw this name and I was quite astonished as I couldn't relate it with human rights issues or couldn't remember much of the movie as I watched it 10 years ago, and that too with no concentration attention. So I watched it again, but this time with a totally different and totally opposite perspective. And this time the movie was quite literally mind boggling and heart wrenching at the same time. I came to know so much new things about the movie and new perspective about watching the movie. So it was really fun. All thanks to you, sir. Acknowledgement. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to my professor, Mr. Sumanta Sharma, for providing me the opportunity to present my
ये
views
इससे
on.
आगे चलो.
Okay, sir. So here's the bibliography and the trivia which I was talking in the start in the end of the story that I said I would pressure it on at the end of the slide. So I would firstly take the last point of trivia. The press conference at the end of the movie was actually a reference to actual meeting which was held in 2003 in Kimberley, South Africa. This meeting's agenda was to stop illegal smuggling and trading of diamonds, which was conducted in such a smooth fashion that you wouldn't even realize what was happening over there. In this meeting, 40 nations signed the Kimberley Process certification scheme. Let's come to the first point. Blood diamond was the name given to the diamonds which were mined in Sierra Leone because the land of Sierra Leone was considered to be blood colored due to havoc, war, and mass murder created by RUF rebellion group. The actor who played Danny's commander in the movie is the founder of an anti-apartheid campaign in real life. So this movie is actually full of real life heroes. And so is Leonardo DiCaprio because he's a phenomenal actor, human being, and an environmentalist at the same time in real life. He actually trained with Rhodesian soldiers to completely blend himself in the role of the soldier in the movie. So yeah, thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you, Ayush. It was an amazing presentation, and I hope so.
Thank you, sir.
First, I was a little bit confused that how can you connect terrorism with that movie, but the explanation which
Yes,
you
sir.
gave at the end of the slides actually made
Yes,
it
sir.
very clear. So now you understand that what is conflict-free diamond, right? Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you will be a millionaire and you are purchasing a lot of diamond, just remember
Yes.
one thing: ensure that it is a conflict-free diamond, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
That
sir.
is
Sure,
the
sir.
most important thing in our lives, that we should
Mhm.
give weightage to people who have worked for it rather
Yes, sir.
than
Yes, sir.
it should not be a blood diamond, right?
Very, very correct, sir. Very correct.
That is the